on to someone that I had to have on the Global Freedom Rally. I'm really, really excited to have this man join us. He has been like a voice of reason and a voice of truth for such a long time. He has created almost a cult following because of it. He's got people from all over the world, celebrities, entrepreneurs, politicians following him, listening to what he's saying. And I love how he's pivoted his message to start bringing out some independent news to us, so we really get I guess a clearer picture of what's taking place. He's definitely a man that is not afraid to say what he needs to say, and then that's why we love him. It is none other than Chris Convington. Welcome, my man.
Andy, how are you, man?
How are you, brother? You well?
Good, brother. Good. Can you hear me all right? The mic on?
I can hear you, my friend. We are good. We are good.
Thanks for having me here, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, mate, how could I do this and not have you? Let's be real. You have been so good, dude, over the last 2 years. And as I said, you've been a voice of reason for many. I reached out to you multiple times. Your latest article, or may not be your latest now, but one of your recent articles was such a showstopper. It was full of such great evidence-backed data, so many comparatives, which I've been saying, hey, who's got these? I've been asking for it from experts, etc. And you brought it out, and you put a lot of time and effort into what you're doing, speaking your truth. So I've got to say thank you. Throughout this, make sure you send people to your website, send people to your Instagram, because people need this independent view, this independent media. And I want to say a big thank you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. I mean, you know what? It's frustrating for me. I'm sure it is for many people that it seems to be that the truth's there, the facts are there, the data is there, but it doesn't get spoken about. And it's almost like, you know, there's no reason. If you look at the data and you look at what's presented, and mate, it's what's going on at the moment, mate, is illogical.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. And that's exactly why, you know, people like yourself, people like our other speakers and myself are stepping up to say something, because when things are so obviously not right, we need to make sure it changes. But my friend, I'm going to ask you some questions at the end. I'm going to leave you to speak to the audience for a moment. You share your gift, share your message, and we'll have a chat shortly.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Again, thank you to Andy for hosting this incredible event. Look, my message has been for a while now is I want people to start looking into what's transpiring, look behind the media wall, and actually, you know, look at the hard data that's available. And as time's gone on, that data is becoming more readily available, and it's more accurate. So I'll take you back quickly to the beginning of this pandemic last year, when we first got news there was a pandemic over in China. And we were expecting it over here at some point, but it was sort of didn't seem to be that serious initially. As it sort of the weeks rolled on, there was a bit more, let's say, need for concern, and it was handled. I'd like to think that the first wave that we had here, it was handled good, much better than it's been handled at the moment, and we've had this second wave now, and it's just seemed to be it's spiraling out of control. So, you know, I think at the beginning of this pandemic, I really believe that our politicians here in Australia had our best interests at heart with what they were doing. We had the Prime Minister overseeing the majority of what was happening, implementing the rules and restrictions that were needed, and we got through it without any. There was no mandates. It was stay-at-home orders and things like that. But we could all, you know, mingle together in the community. There was none of this division that they're pushing at the moment. And, you know, we got through this. We got through this last year together. And what's happening at the moment, it's heartbreaking to see the country that I was born and raised in going down this path. And I think that we all have a duty as an Australian to raise to raise concerns with it, and to you know, to be a voice, to be as noisy as possible, to hopefully you know, get the message out there. This is not okay what they're doing to Australians. So I think my biggest focus at the moment will definitely be on the children. So I'll speak a little bit about that. So the Australian government have had intentions, or they haven't been quiet about it either. They've been very vocal about those intentions to start vaccinating 5 to 11-year-old children at the end of January. I think they're hinting at now. So it's only a few months. So as it stands at the moment, it's 12 years and over, and they're looking to push that down to 5 to 11-year-olds. It's very, very concerning. I've spoken to many professionals around the world. I've had the likes of Dr. McCullough on the podcast. We spoke in depth about this months ago, about the issues that he was seeing in the initial stages. Being a cardiologist, obviously he would see a lot of the complications surrounding myocarditis, pericarditis, blood clots, etc. So he was sort of onto it from the beginning. And he raised concerns at that point, and he made it clear to me on the podcast that there's to be no needles in the arms of children. He made that very, very clear. And as the months have gone on, you're seeing exactly why he said that. The complications that are coming from this vaccine on children is catastrophic. There's 12 high school students around Australia that are having these issues that they wouldn't normally get, like myocarditis and pericarditis. It's not normal. It's not a normal occurrence for teenagers or even young adults. You're seeing 20-year-olds with myocarditis, and it's rare. Prior to the vaccine, it's extremely rare that a young person would present with those sort of issues, but it's becoming all too common, and it's just being sort of swept under the rug, which is a major concern. There's definitely a level of deception within the health departments and government departments in regards to keeping things quiet and not sort of it's blatantly obvious. You do a bit of research, it's blatantly obvious that we should be concerned. And at the moment, I'm doing everything that I can do to ensure that they don't start vaccinating the 5 to 11-year-old children. My understanding now is that the TGA are waiting for more data to come over from the US. The US has started vaccinating 5 to 11-year-old children. And I believe the TGA here are waiting for the data from that. But the government have already ordered 5 million vials for the 5 to 11-year-old group. So I can't see them backing down from that, regardless of what the data says. We're just living in a time at the moment where data and facts and statistics don't seem to mean anything. It's not stopping anything. This vaccine rollout should have been stopped months ago, in my opinion. If you look at the amount of adverse events compared to previous vaccine rollouts, it's substantial. Whereas if this was any other time, it would have been stopped. So that speaks volumes in itself, is that they're allowing this to continue. I mean, I've always said that if you want to get vaccinated, that's entirely fine. That's up to you as an individual. It's your choice to make. But I don't think parents should be making that a decision for their very young children. I think it's something that we know that this virus is not really bothering children. Most of them are asymptomatic, and it's very rare. In fact, the rate was 0.38 out of every 100,000 children who get COVID require hospitalization. Those are states from the CDC in the US. So it's extremely low. Like 0.38 out of every 100,000 children require hospitalization from COVID. Based on those odds, you don't need to vaccinate the children. You really don't need to do it. There's a limit where, their justification for that would be that, just in case, as a preventative measure. But, if the children get the virus and they overcome it, which they will, they've got natural immunity. That's a topic of discussion that is there's a lot of, let's just say, corporate media influence in regards to what's being spoken about in regards to natural immunity. But, natural immunity is proven to be durable, long-lasting, and effective. Let's be honest, quite frankly, something the vaccine's not. So if a child was to wind up with COVID-19, then the likelihood of them being hospitalized is extremely rare, very, very rare. So, to give them something that's an experimental gene therapy, that's exactly what it is. By definition, it's an experimental gene therapy. To give them that and to subject them to the potential life-changing and life-ending consequences of this mRNA technology is it's unethical and it's unnecessary. So I think there needs to be a massive shake-up in regards to the way we're treating this illness and this vaccine rollout. The government seem to be treating it as we're all different, but the government are putting us together and treating us all the same, that everyone should get vaccinated, everybody should do this, everybody should do that. When we're individuals, what might impact me may not impact you. I may get the vaccine and be completely fine. You may get it and have get one of the more myocarditis or one of those not so rare adverse events. So to treat it as a whole and to treat everyone as a whole, it's the first time it's ever happened in as far as I'm aware of in history, where they've categorized everyone into one group and just pushed it on everybody. So look, to me, the biggest problem the real pandemic we've got at the moment is vaccinating these children. We've got to put a stop to it. So I'm doing everything I can. I know there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of good groups that are putting in the work to raise awareness. I myself have had tens of thousands of pamphlets made up for letterbox distribution and also handouts. Because I think a lot of the problem is that the people are they're just not informed. That they're hearing one side of the narrative and not the other side. So they're being told by the corporate media and by the government officials that we should definitely vaccinate the children. We need to vaccinate the children, and it's just they need to see the other side, which is how many children are having adverse events unnecessarily. So. Hopefully, with what I'm doing and what as I said, the other people and groups are doing at the moment will help raise awareness and give help parents make an informed decision, because I can't imagine any parent that looks at the data available that would look at the pros and cons and would decide to get their child vaccinated. It's illogical. So I hope that are starting to open eyes, and it definitely is. I've had a lot of people message me and that have thanked me for the information that I've provided in regards to the risks associated with vaccinating children. So the words definitely are getting out there to the people, but it's an uphill battle. It's very tough because you're battling the corporate media, you're battling the government, and this isn't just unique to Australia. This is really around the world. So I think it's the first time we've ever had to deal with something of this nature, where sort of we're not battling alone. It's everyone's in on it. So it's extremely difficult to control the information that's coming through the TVs and the radios and Facebook or social media platforms. And one thing I'd like to add to that is that it's the first time where you're being silenced for being honest. So let's just say you have a reaction to the vaccine. You say you have a vaccine injury, and you share that to social media, Facebook, Instagram. Your post will get removed. Many people have had their posts removed and also their accounts deleted for sharing an injury that they've suffered because of the vaccine, and that's very unique in itself. Whereas if you were to break a bone or any other illness and you share that, you're not going to get your account removed or your post deleted. So it's very unique to this situation, is that, even if we're having genuine issues and we want to just share that with our family and friends, we're going to be very mindful, because Facebook or Instagram and the like will delete your post and potentially delete your entire account. Which is a big concern in itself, because, when you look at the countries, like in particular, you've got North Korea, China is a good example of that, Russia to a certain extent, we all think of them as if the government controls everything they see, everything they do. And really, it's happening to us. It's happening to us on a lesser scale, but it's happening. So, if if you post something that's even just at a genuine injury, but it goes against the official narrative, it's deemed misinformation. So misinformation is a newer term. It used to be disinformation, but they've changed it to misinformation. And in my honest opinion, misinformation is anything that is deemed inconvenient to the official narrative. That's misinformation. So I've had posts removed months ago that were deemed to be misinformation, and over the last few months, it's come true. It's happened, but you don't get your posts reinstated. You don't get Instagram or Facebook emailing you apologizing for removing your post. It goes on. So mandates, and along with these social media policies, it holds, it freezes science in time. So, what I said 3 months ago, or anyone said 3 months ago, today may be very valid. And in fact, a wide known fact, for example, viral load in nasal passages. I said 3 months ago that was the case, and it got removed for misinformation. But now we know it's all over the corporate media, and there's been many articles published on it now from well-respected medical journals that that is in fact true. But that was removed months ago for misinformation. So it's a big problem that we have with this entire pandemic. And I guess everyone just needs to be very aware and look into history and go back and see what they've done in the past. Project Mockingbird. There's many examples of governments silencing and censoring the people and having the corporate media spread a particular narrative. That's exactly what's happening now. That's exactly what's happening. It's very obvious that's what's happening. But unfortunately, a lot of people are under the spell that what they see and hear from the media is they believe it, they buy into it 100%, and that's also going a long way into feeding this division amongst society at the moment. And I was just seeing this morning some images from Sydney, Melbourne, Bundaberg, I believe, up north, of the rallies going on. You know what? It's such a beautiful sight to see the Australian people standing up in the hundreds of thousands, and standing as one. And the unity is what I've noticed too is amazing. So you've got very diverse cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, all together, standing for the same cause, which is to end the mandates and end discrimination and a segregation that's going on at the moment in this country. It's a beautiful thing to see that we can all come together like that as Australians, just as Australians. Not it doesn't matter whether you're Christian or you're Muslim or Jewish or what country you were born in. We're coming together as one, as Australians, and that's a beautiful thing to see. And it's starting to look like the Australian public are waking up to what's happening. But it's very unique, guys. And I think we're in a time where it's crucial for us to act. It's crucial for us to act. Now, there's always a defining moment in history where you think, what, if these people would have acted at that point, it wouldn't have got as bad as it did. And I think we're at that point at the moment where if we just keep, if we just remain silent and let them roll out what they're rolling out without any backlash, I have no doubt that we'd be in all sorts of trouble rather quickly. If you think about what's happened in the last 18 months and not only what's happened, but how quickly they've done it. From what started as just, keeping your distance, 1.5 meters, wearing a face mask in appropriate settings, to now, if you don't get vaccinated, you can't work. If you're not vaccinated, you can't go to the shop, and buy clothing. Like I've, my wife and I are both unvaccinated, and we couldn't walk into a clothing store to buy our kids' clothes, or bedding, or anything like, or shoes, like the important stuff that's essential. But at the moment, we're not permitted to walk into stores to do that, but we can walk into other supermarkets to purchase groceries, etc. But we can't walk. It's very bizarre, and it raises concerns. So look, we need to continue doing what we're doing. But said if we don't, we're heading downhill rather quickly. The bill down in Victoria is extremely concerning for many reasons. It essentially gives it's a huge amount of power for any individual to have, let alone a individual in a democracy where he can essentially have dictatorship type of control over the people in his state. So I think there's been a bit of progress on that front where we've at least managed to prolong it due to the pressure from the protesters down there and that gentleman, intending to vote against the bill. So we're definitely seeing progress in some areas. I know in New South Wales, the Premier had cancelled that bill. We postponed it the other day, which was supposed to go through to give an extension of the emergency powers into 2023. Again, it's important. It's progress. We're moving in the right direction. But the battle's only just begun. We need to be aware of that. If the fact that they can do these in terms of extending emergency powers into the new year and into even the year after, how would they have they don't know whether or not, we're going to be in this situation in a year and a half from now. They would have absolutely no idea. So the fact that they're preparing for that, 18 months is again concerning. But I think it's just very important to be vigilant and to really take note of what's, just be a little bit more open-minded to what you're seeing and what you're reading, because what I'm finding a lot of is opinion polls in news outlets. A lot of what that's doing is really normalizing and sort of softening the blow for us. So when the time comes in a few months' time when they, lock us down again or whatever they may decide to do, we're sort of been accustomed to it now. They've been talking about it quietly for the last few months, so it's not as much of a shock. Because if you imagine if they said this 18 months ago, we went straight from 1.5 meter social distance to get vaccinated or lose your job, it would erupt, right? So it happens gradually over time. So it's just very important for everyone to be mindful of that. And, to be, again, there's a lot of people out there that are spreading misinformation, are spreading conspiracy theories. It's very important to spot the difference between someone like myself, Andy, and there's a lot of people in this space that are providing factual information that will really plead the case. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere if you start telling people that there's microchips and, that link up to satellites and Bill Gates is behind a computer controlling what we see and do. There's people that are saying things like that, which, their belief, that's fine. But ultimately, the minute you start saying those sort of things, you're going to have people, they're not going to listen to anything you say after that. Mm-hmm. So it's very mindful to be very careful where you get your information from, but also keep in mind that what you're saying on the corporate media, take it with a grain of salt.
So true. It's so true. And again, I've said this multiple times, but where the heck would we be right now if we didn't have Indomedia like yourself, like the real Rushkan, like Avi, like some of these guys that have been on the front lines? Because, and again, and you can attest to this, we've just seen such a one-sided view across the board. If that's all you saw, if that's all you knew, there would not be over 200,000 people on the streets in Melbourne today. There would not be over 100,000 people in New South Wales today. And it's, again, because of you. So I just want to give you just a second of significance and shine a bit of light onto you, brother, because, again, I know how much you hear this, but you do deserve to know that you've made a huge impact in this battle in New South Wales, but globally. And you know that by the people you've connected with and the people that reach out to you. But it's taken bravery, it's taken courage, it's taken time, sacrifice. And so, man, I want to say a big thank you.
No, brother, man, I appreciate that. You know what? It's not negotiable for myself. Man, I've got children. I don't do this for me, man. If, ultimately as a man, you can deal with what's going to come your way, But when it comes to our children, that's where I really, I can't just sit back. How people do it, man, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how people do that, but mate, it's non-negotiable, really. But mate, I do appreciate it. And look, mate, the main thing is that I am making a difference, and people are seeing a different side to the story. And
Yeah,
mate, I said it's only the beginning.
Mm.
We've got a long road ahead, but mate,
Yeah.
we'll get there. We'll definitely get
absolutely,
there. For
absolutely.
Sure.
With the courage that you've shown, and others that are speaking today, and again with the awesome signal that the numbers we're seeing on the streets, people are waking up, people are understanding, people give a shit now. You know, that's the main thing. Apathy, complacency has no fucking place in our countries anymore. We need to care more about what's happening and less about how comfortable we are in the moment.
Mate, that's the problem. I think it's a combination of things, but it's a lack of we haven't had this happen to us as a nation, sort of in the last, however long. We haven't really seen anything like this. Whereas if you get people that have, mate, that's why a lot of minority groups are the ones that are really standing up and saying, no, stop this shit. We can see what's coming, because they've witnessed it, they've lived it, and if they haven't, maybe their parents lived through it. But I think it's a lack of having us. We haven't been through it before. That's the reality of it.
That's right.
And it's the fact that we get comfortable, we get complacent in our lives, where we think, you know what, we'll just fuck it, let's just go along and do what they say, because it's easier than me having to fight a battle against the government and everybody else around me. I'll just go and comply with it. But
we don't have that luxury anymore, do we, my friend? We don't have that luxury anymore. No. So, mate, I want to say a big thank you. Everyone watching from across the globe, head on over to www.thepremod.com. It's on the screen right now. Again, you can also head over, follow the Instagram and the backup accounts, because we don't know how long the account's going to last.
Mate, I don't know how my main account's still there.
I'm surprised too.
But you know what? I think it's the difference is, and this I say to everyone, you don't have to spread falsehoods or things you're not sure about, man. Because the truth in this case with this, what's going on, mate, the truth is enough.
Yeah,
you don't need to add any salt on top of that. Do you know what I mean? It's bad enough.
It's definitely like a sci-fi movie. My man, I want to say a big thank you. Everyone head over and follow Chris. Thank you for your energy, your effort. Thank you for being that independent voice, independent media that we need right now, my man. I'll speak to you soon.
Appreciate it, brother. Thanks, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Take care.
Okay, everybody watching, that, my friend, was the Primod. Go on, head over, look at his website, check out his Instagram.